Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Google Slides for Interactive Stories, Quizzes, and Games. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center up here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or who are watching this recording in the future. My name is Eric Kurtz, and I'm a technology integration specialist here at SPARC, and I will be your presenter for this session today. I'm joined by my co-worker, Anthony, who will be manning the Q&A document, and we'll chat about that in just a moment, how you can ask questions and share comments during our webinar today. Anthony will be keeping an eye on that document. All the information for today's webinar can be found at the web address you see down there at the bottom of the slide, tiny.cc/spark207. I'm going to click on that in just a moment and head over there and show you the resources that are available. Just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. Chances are, if you're watching this live, you're already on the site, so you're a step ahead. But if somebody's watching this later on recorded, this will help them get to all of those resources. Again, tiny.cc/spark207. I'm going to go ahead and give a click on that right now and pop over there and tell you what, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on that page so it's a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit easier for you guys to read the text later on. So this is the site for the webinar, and here you'll see the live video for our session right now, and in the future that'll be the recorded video, so you can always come back in the future to catch this again in recorded format. Below that, there is the session resources, quite a lot of them for this one today. We've got a help guide, got a lot of sample documents. We're going to visit quite a few of those as we go through the session today. Now, underneath there, you'll see there's a section called Live Session Chat. This is a Google document that is open for editing. So if you have any questions or comments and you would like to share those with us, just click on that link, jump in that document. Anthony's going to be keeping an eye on it, and he'll do his best to answer those or to relay them over to me. And we appreciate any feedback that you guys have. Below that, there is a session evaluation. So when this is all done, we'd love to hear how this went for you. So please give a click on that Google form link. It's nothing too big, just about 5 questions or so, pretty quick there. We would love to get some feedback on how these sessions are going so we can improve them. And then the last thing on this page, there is a quiz you can take afterwards to get a certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour. So if your school allows you to turn in things for watching online trainings, you can go ahead and fill out this quiz. And when you fill that out, if you pass that quiz with a score of 80% or better, you'll automatically be sent a PDF certificate of attendance for this session, and would definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. Now, before we jump off of this, I do want to mention just real quick a couple other links on this site. This is our tech integrations site that we're at. If I scroll to the very top of the page, you'll see that I do have a link here to our PD schedule. So if you're curious what other webinars we have coming up, well, there you go. Just go to the PD schedule and you'll see other ones coming up, such as Anthony's on spreadsheets or mine on Google Tools for special needs, and so on and so on. And so we'll keep that updated with new webinars as they become available. And then recorded trainings. You want to see what we've done in the past? Fantastic. It's starting to grow our library of recorded webinars, so you can come here and you can catch any of the ones that we've done in the past, watch those, and take the quiz and get your certificate for those as well. If you would rather have us just send you the information than you coming back here all the time, we do have a link to our newsletter, Sparkline. So you can give a click on the newsletter link at the top there. And if you scroll down, you can subscribe to the Sparklines newsletter. About every 2 weeks, we'll send out a real short newsletter giving you information on upcoming webinars and other events. And finally, if you need to contact us, there's a link there under contact, so you can get access to our email and other ways to connect with us, and we would love to hear from you. All right, very good, guys. Well, let me go ahead and close out of that and get back to our presentation today. So for our agenda, today we're going to start by talking about just what are interactive slideshows. We're going to look at some examples, 3 in particular. We're going to look at an online quiz, a Jeopardy game, and a choose your own adventure story, all being done with Google Slides. Then we're going to switch over to, well, how do you make your own? So we'll spend some time talking about how you and your students can create your own interactive slideshows from scratch. And then we'll finish up by saying how you can also take advantage of templates to save a little bit of time and perhaps make that a little bit easier, especially for your students. So that's our plan for our session together today. As far as what you need to know to be successful in this session, well, just a couple of things. You will need to have a Gmail account or a Google Apps for Education account so that you can do Google Slides, since that is one of the pieces of Google Apps. So just a regular personal Gmail is fine, or a school-provided Google Apps account if you'd like to follow along and create some things with us. You, of course, would then need access to Google Slides, which would be available right from your Google Drive. We'll talk about that. And then finally, it would be helpful if you have a basic understanding of how to use Google Slides. This session is not going to really be a Google Slides 101. It's sort of like if you've already used Google Slides and you know how to make a presentation, or maybe if you've just used PowerPoint, perhaps you've never used slides, that's okay. If you've used PowerPoint and you get the gist, you know how to make slides and put pictures in and animate things, and if all of that's comfortable with you, this is kind of going that next step, going a little bit deeper with it. However, if you feel that you do need a little catch up on slides, I do have a link here to a help guide. This is also linked in on the main session page as well. And this help guide is more of a Google Slides 101 sort of help guide. It's about 12 pages long or so. It's got lots of happy pictures in there and nice instructions to really just talk you through how to use all the different facets of Google Slides. So definitely feel free to use that if you need to fill in a few gaps on some of the things that we'll be skipping over. All right, so let's get going. So as I said, the first thing we're going to talk about is what would an interactive slideshow be? What do I mean by that? Well, maybe one of the best ways to explain it is to start by saying what it's not. So usually slideshows are designed to display slides in order. So you've got slide number 1, and then you click and it goes to slide number 2, and then you click and then it moves over to slide number 3. That's pretty normal. That's what most of us do with slideshows. They go sequentially in order. And that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is a linear slideshow. And that's good for things that need to be presented in a special order, like a student book report, maybe a teacher lecture, this webinar presentation, what you're looking at right now. This is a linear Google slideshow, and that's perfectly fine. And that's a very common task that we as educators or students do. However, we don't always have to do that. We can go beyond the slideshow. We can kind of break out of the mold of what we've always just done with linear slideshows, and we can move over to what we would call a nonlinear or a non-sequential slideshow. So what you can do is you can create all your slides as normal, but then you can use hyperlinks. And hyperlinks allow you to take images or text in one slide and then use that to link to other slides from the first. So I could go from slide number 1, and based upon what I click on, I might go to slide 2, or I may click something else and go to slide 3, or click something else and go to slide 4. It doesn't have to go in order. I could follow whatever path makes sense to me. So this is basically what we're going to be looking at today, the idea of creating non-linear or interactive slideshows. And it does serve a lot of neat purposes. So for example, this is great for online quizzes. You could create a first slide that asks a question, and below there you see several possible answers, and each one of those is a hyperlink. When a student clicks on one of the hyperlinks, it jumps them to the appropriate slide. So if they choose the wrong answer, maybe it takes them to a wrong answer slide and says, here, try again, and it sends them back. If they pick the right answer, it takes them to the right answer slide saying, good job, you got that right. Click here to move on to the next question. This is also good for Jeopardy games. Very common thing for slideshows. Many people who've used PowerPoint have done Jeopardy games in PowerPoint. Well, same thing here. You can have the big board and you can choose your category and choose your dollar amount. And when you click on that dollar amount, that's actually a hyperlink that shoots you out to the appropriate slide in the slide deck that has the question for that category and dollar amount. A real fun thing, though, to do with this is creating choose your own adventure stories. So this is a great opportunity for students to do creative writing, as well as possibly, art, drawing the pictures to go along with it. But the idea would be that each slide could be part of the story. And at the bottom of the slide, you would have your options. Do you go right? Do you go left? Do you try to swim? Do you run away? Whatever the case might be. Now, I'm a child of the 80s. I went to school back in the 80s, and so choose your own adventure stories are near and dear to my heart. They're very popular at that time, and this is a great opportunity to use those with your students. All right, so with that understanding of kind of what this is all about, let's do it. We're going to dive into exploring and creating interactive slideshows with Google Slides. We're going to start, like I said, by looking at examples. So we're going to run through 3 examples first, just so you can see what they look like all fleshed out. Then we're going to switch over to actually creating them ourselves. All righty. So to do this, I am now going to go back over to our link for our session, which is tiny.cc/spark207, because that's where I've got all my stuff at. So I'm going to give a click on that and jump over there again. All right, and we are back. So we're going to begin, like I said, by looking at some examples. So if you're following along with me, just kind of scroll down below the video if you're watching this live. If you're watching this recorded, go to the website I just described and scroll down below the video. And what you're going to see is under the session resources, there's quite a lot of links. Now, we're going to do 3 of these to begin with, just to kind of show you some examples of how this could look as an end result. So we're kind of starting with the end and then working backwards. Now, the first one I'm going to do is actually the 3rd link down. It's the sample interactive quiz, this one right here, sample interactive quiz. And so I'm going to give a click where it says Google Slides link for this sample interactive quiz, and open that up, and definitely feel free to do so as well. If you'd like to follow along, that would be great. If you just want to watch, that's okay too. So basically what you get here is, this is a really very, very basic sample, but just wanted to demonstrate the idea of how this could work. And so this is a Google slideshow, and at the bottom here it says click here to begin the quiz. So I give it a click, and you'll see it pops up with my first question. In this case, what is the square root of 9? And so what you've got here below are 4 possible answers. Now, these are all hyperlinks, and that's what we're going to be talking about later. How do you do that? How do you create hyperlinks? Well, that's what these are. These are all hyperlinks here, so that if I click on any one of these, it'll jump me out to a different slide in the slideshow. Well, I know the square root of 9 is 3, but let's start by choosing wrong just so you can see what happens. So if I come down and I say, okay, I'm going to pick 18 instead of 9. When I click that, I get something saying, sorry, that's incorrect. And then because I knew exactly which one I clicked, I was able to give a little bit of specialized feedback. I said 18 is 2 times 9, not the square root of 9. Click here to try again. So we click, circles back around. I'm going to skip the right answer for a moment. I'll show you if I choose 4.5, it'll say, sorry, that's half of 9. So go back and try again, and we'll choose 81. And it'll say, sorry, that's the square of 9, not the square root of 9. Try again. And finally, of course, we'll choose the right answer, which is 3. It says, yay, correct, good job. 3 times 3 is 9, so that is the square root of 9. And we have a link to go on to the next question. So again, this is a hyperlink here, and that shoots us out to question 2, which is what type of rock forms when magma cools and hardens. If we said, oh, I think it's sedimentary, I'll say, no, sorry, that's from particles of sand and shells and stuff, and there's a picture of it here. Try again. Well, maybe it's metamorphic. Nope, sorry, that's when things are under the earth with intense heat and pressure. So here's a picture of it. Go back and try again. And igneous it is. So yes, there it is. That is an igneous rock. And we'll just look at one more quick one. We won't click on all of these, but you'll just see the final example, like what country is highlighted on the map. Obviously, that's France. If we picked like Italy, it would say, nope, sorry, that's what Italy looks like. Try again. And we'll choose France. We know that's right. And it says, yes, you are correct. That is France. And then finally, one last click to go to the end of the presentation. So that's just a really quick example of what a quiz could look like if you were to use interactive hyperlinks rather than a traditional linear presentation. So I'm going to close out of that, and I want to show you another example. So that was the first one I wanted to show you. The second example that we're going to take a quick look at is the Jeopardy game. So for this one, it's actually the 5th link down. It says sample Jeopardy game math terms. So if you're looking for the one that I'm going to demonstrate, if you want to play along with me, it's sample Jeopardy game math terms. If you give a click on the link beside that, you'll see that opens up our Jeopardy game, and here it is. And when I go and I give it a click and move to the second slide, I get my big board. So there's my Jeopardy board, and we've got our categories: angles, polygons, graphing, measurement, and funny math. And below there, we have the 5 different dollar amounts, and of course, Final Jeopardy up here in the top right as well. Again, guys, the idea is these are all hyperlinks. Every one of these dollar amounts and Final Jeopardy, these are all hyperlinks. So if I click on, let's say, angles for 100, that's going to jump me out to the slide in the slide deck with that particular question. So $100 question, an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. So the students are given the answer and they have to come up with the question that goes along with it. And at the bottom, you'll see, click to see the answer. So we come down here and give a click. After they've answered, we find out what is a right angle. Excellent. So there we go. Click here to return to the Jeopardy board. So we click on the little house icon here and it shoots us back around to the big board and we could try again. Now, one of the most common questions I get is always on this, and that is, Eric, can we make these show that somebody already clicked on them? Because, we already clicked $100 for angles. It looks the same. How can we indicate that it's been clicked on? Unfortunately, that is not yet an option supported in Google Slides. There is not an option to pick a different color for a visited link than a link that you have not clicked. Fingers crossed, I'm hoping that gets added at some point. But at the moment, I'm sorry, you will just have to keep track, maybe separately on a piece of paper or whatever, which categories have been chosen already. I don't have a way, there's not a way built into Google Slides to do that. So yeah, that is a little bit of an annoyance there, but just be aware of that. But you get the idea. So you could just go through and click on any of these, like funny math for 400. That'll be what would be to be in favor of farm machinery. Now, yes, I was a math teacher, and yes, I'm a dad of 4 kids, so I love corny dad jokes, and this one is right in my wheelhouse there. So to be in favor of farm machinery. Hey, Anthony, you know what that is?
I think that's tractor.
You're close. Protractor. To be in favor of farm machinery is to be protractor. Yeah. What is protractor? Excellent. Okay. Well, enough of that. You get the idea. So anyway, this is a quick example of using Google Slides to do a Jeopardy style game. All right, let me close out of that and we'll do one last. Now, this is my favorite. This is the one that I really love the most, and we won't have time to do much of it. So I really encourage you to come back for this one on your own. And that is the second link down, the sample interactive story Dragon Quest. So if you would go ahead and give a click on the link next to that, next to Dragon Quest, and that will bring up a choose your own adventure style story. Now, quick background on this. This actually was written by students. Back when I was a teacher, it's been quite a while ago. This is about 20 years back or so. I taught math, but I also taught the Gifted and Talented program. And one of the projects we used to do with the students was to have them create their own choose your own adventure stories. Now, this was pre-tech, but all the stuff in this story actually was created by a group of 5 students. They wrote the story, they drew the pictures. I simply adapted it into a Google Slide presentation to show you how Google Slides could be used for a choose your own adventure interactive story. So basically you come here, it says click to begin, and we'll go yada yada through this pretty quick. So this is just a little bit of a background like I just explained to you, but we'll hit begin the story. And get a little intro. So no choices yet. This is just introduction. There's a dragon. The king wants you to kill it. Da, 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 da. You can read that on your own. Hit continue. Here's the map of where you got to travel from the castle over to the mountains. And each student wrote a different part of the story. So one student wrote about the plains, one the swamp, one the desert, one the forest. So if you do read through this, and I do encourage you, please do have your students go through this and try it out yourself. You'll notice quite a bit of a difference in the writing style and drawing style as you move through the story. But again, that's because 5 different students wrote the story. Well, let's hit continue and actually get into it. So here's the very first page where we get to choose something. The gist of it is that you're now ready to go on your adventure, and you have to decide, do you want to go to the peddlers for supplies, or should you continue on without supplies? Well, this is a choose your own adventure story written by 5 middle school boys. So you can guess most of these end in you are dead. Okay, that's pretty common. Most of the ends are not good for you. So we're not going to go on without supplies. We definitely need supplies. So we'll go to the peddlers and we'll get supplies. And of course, you can read through what happens there. And then we now come to a fork in the road and we have to decide, should we go the right path or the left path? Oh, I'll go through the right path. Oh, and we come to a dead end, so we can read about that. Do we go through the underbrush or do we go back? Oh, I'll go through the underbrush. That's fine. Oh, get to keep on going here. So I made it through the underbrush. And now I get to a spot where there are 3 shadowy figures in front of me and I have to decide what to do. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring this to an end by choosing poorly. I shall choose poorly at this point. I can arm my sword, I can arm my bow, or I can run. Well, I'll choose to run. And yeah, they catch up to me and they're goblin warriors. And that is the end of the story for me. But you see, I get a link there to swing back around to the start and begin again. So I can click on that link and the whole thing just starts over again. Now, guys, just so you know, this is a long story. If I show you, let me click on the little thing here. You'll see there are 91 slides. There are 91 slides in this. It is a long story, but it really is good. I would definitely encourage you to try it out. I was really pleased with what the students put together many years ago, and I was happy to convert this over to a Choose Your Own Adventure story in Google Slides. All right, I'm going to close out of that. And so hopefully that gives you kind of a picture of the end result, what we're trying to get to. Those are the kind of things. And I don't mean to limit you to that. There's probably a lot of other things you could do too. I would love to see examples of other things people come up with beyond quizzing and games and stories. But those are just a few to give you some ideas to get started. So what we want to do now, though, is we want to actually do it. We want to create our own. So for my example today, I'm going to go with something very basic because I just want to show you the mechanics of how this works. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make an interactive quiz. That's the one we're going to do. We're just going to do a very simple, like 2-question quiz just to show you the mechanics of how it can be done. What you learn from that, you'll be able to apply to all of these different situations. But it will be a very simple one just to get you going. Now, I do want to remind you, there is a help guide for this session. So I'm going to run through this kind of quick as I explain it. If you're like, I need to go back and catch that again, certainly you can rewatch the video, but be aware we do have a help guide. It's the very first link under the resources, all about creating interactive Google presentations. So this one is specifically about how to do what we're doing here today. And so if you look down through, it talks about, the different samples of what you can create with it, but it talks about things we're going to talk about. Naming slides and inserting links, avoiding unintended advancement, duplicating slides, and so forth. So all the gory details will show up in this document if you would like to refer to that as well. All right, well, I think we are ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out so I'm not so zoomed in there. And what we need to do is we need to get over to Google Drive because that's where the magic's going to happen. We need to go to Google Drive and we need to create a slideshow. So I'm going to open up a new tab up here in the top. And to get to Google Drive, lots of different ways to do it. One of the easy ways is to go to the top right where we have the Apps Launcher button, or what we like to call the waffle button. Go up there and give a click on that little 3x3 grid up there. And by clicking on that, I can then choose Google Drive from the drop down. If for any reason you don't have access to that, you can always just type in drive.google.com and that will also work as well. So drive.google.com or choose Drive from the waffle button in the top right, and you'll get to Google Drive. And so here I am. I am now in Google Drive, and from here, I want to go ahead and create a new slideshow. So to do that, I'm going to look in the top left-hand corner and I have a new button. Now it's possible you might still be on the old version of Drive. Yours might say create. If so, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. You can still click create and you can choose Google Slides from the drop down there. But on the new version of Google Drive, it says new for the button up there. So I'm going to give a click on new and go down and click on Google Slides. And there we go. We should have a nice, happy, brand new slide ready to go. Fantastic. So again, like I said, the plan is we're going to make an interactive quiz, just a few simple questions just to give you the mechanics of how all this works. Now, I'm going to let you know we're doing this from scratch. So we're starting completely from scratch. When we're done with this, the tail end of the session today, I'm going to talk about using templates to save you a little bit of time. So if at any point during this section right now you go, wow, this is a little complicated, there's a lot of steps going on here, let me reassure you that once you've done it once, it's much easier to do a second time, and you can also take advantage of templates to save you a lot of time, and I'll be talking about that at the very tail end of this today. I've created some templates that you guys can work off of rather than doing everything from scratch. And let me say one more thing before we dive in too deep. I'm guessing, I'm just assuming a lot of times that you may be educators right now who are listening to me, probably teachers, tech folks. A lot of stuff I'm showing you, I would actually encourage you to have your students be doing this. Because we're talking about creating choose your own adventure stories. We're talking about creating quizzes. Why not have the students create quizzes? Say, okay, guys, I need you to pick a topic from each unit, or maybe every other unit, or however you want to divide it up. So every student at some point gets a topic during the year that is their topic. And the students go in and they create their own Google Slides interactive quiz. Now, that's great for a couple of reasons. First of all, if they can create a quiz, they really need to understand the material. So to be able to teach it, you got to know it. So to create a quiz, that's a great way for those kids to really dig deep into the material. Now, the next thing that's nice about it is, of course, they're gaining computer skills. That's always excellent. We definitely want that to be the case. But the really great thing is they're creating content for your class. Now your students can take those quizzes, not just this year, but next year and the next year and the next year. You can start building this giant archive of interactive quizzes created by the students that would be wonderful for other students to use as a review for tests and to go over the material from class. So I guess what I'm saying is, as you look at this, don't just think, is this something for you to do, but think this is also something that your students could be doing as well. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. So here I am, I've created my new slide, and the first thing I get greeted by is what theme to pick. Now, I would suggest probably going with the most basic theme because, well, you'll see later, we're going to be making some changes to how the slides look so that they'll be properly interactive. And if we pick all these other themes, chances are we're just going to end up writing over we're going to write over the theme. We're going to modify it anyway. So I'm just going to go with simple light, the very first one in the top left-hand corner, and go OK. Choose OK for that. All right, guys. So we're now in Google Slides. And as I said earlier, this is not going to be a course or a session on how to use Google Slides. I'm assuming you already feel reasonably comfortable with PowerPoint or Google Slides. We're just going to jump right in. So first slide, we just need to give it a title. I'm just going to call this Sample Quiz. And that's it. We're keeping this basic. Yeah, we're not going to make it all pretty or anything right now. We're just going to, you can make it pretty yourself later on. That's perfectly fine. Okay. We're just going to keep it real basic. So there's our welcome slide sample quiz. Excellent. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and create our second slide. And well, I probably should name this first. So up in the top left-hand corner, I will click where it says Untitled Presentation. I will name it, and I'll call it Sample Quiz up there as well. All right, there we go. In the habit of naming my presentations. Excellent. There we go. So what I want to do now is I'm going to create my next slide, which is going to have my first question. So I'll go up to the top left-hand corner, click the little down arrow next to the plus sign where you can create new slides. And you'll see that I have 6 different possible slides that I can choose from when I create a new slide. Now, the thing is, when we pick these, I'm going to encourage you to pick one that has the word title in it. And here's the reason why. You want to be able to give a title to your slides so that later on, when we start linking slides together, they're easier to find. If you don't have them titled, it's a lot harder to figure out which slides you're linking to. So I would either use title and body, or title and 2 columns, or title only. I'm going to use title and body for all of mine. So I give a click on that, and that opens up that slide. And so now I can go ahead and give it a title. Now, it is important for you to think this through and have some kind of consistency to this. It doesn't matter if it's a quiz, if it's a Jeopardy game, if it's a choose your own adventure story, you need to have a consistent naming scheme so that when you do link from one slide to another, it's easy to pick them out. So in this case, I'm just going to call this question 1. Makes perfect sense, very simple. So I'll call it question 1. So I always know this is the slide that actually has the question for question 1 on it. Below there, I'll actually put in my question. And, I'm just going to use the same one we had in the quiz earlier just to keep this simple. So I'll say, what is the square root of 9? Below there, I need some answers. So we'll do A, and we'll give them some, correct and incorrect ones. We'll do double 9, so we'll do 18. Let's do the correct answer 3. Let's do half of 9. Let's do 4.5. And then let's do 9 squared, 81. You get the idea. So basically, I'm just typing in the title at the top here, and I'm typing in the question here with the possible answers. Now, keep in mind, you can also insert pictures here if you would like. Certainly, that's great. It might be an image that you want them to look at to identify something on a map or to identify a three-dimensional shape or whatever. And that, again, if you've used Google Slides, there's loads of ways to put images in. Just as a quick reminder, if I click Insert Image, I can do lots of things. I can upload an image. I can go to my albums to grab pictures. I can go to my Google Drive to grab images out of my drive. I can also go to the search option and I can search for images. I can also drag and drop images into my slideshow. So if I jumped over to a website like OpenClipArt, openclipart.org, one of my favorites. You probably see me use that one a lot. Great place to go get free public domain clip art. So you don't have to worry about copyright. If I went here and I typed in something like calculator, maybe I'm just looking for a some math clip art, I could say, oh, there we go. Here's a nice calculator. Give a click on that. I've got small, medium, and large to choose from. Let's go ahead and we'll open up the medium one in its own tab. And there it is. So I could come in here and I could grab this piece of clip art. And if I click and hold down on it, I can even come up to my tabs at the top and I can switch tabs, switch over to my slideshow, drop it in there. It's probably way bigger than it needs to be. I got to shrink that guy up. Wow. That's a big in there. So let's shrink him up. But you get the idea. So you could make these as attractive as you want, put pictures in. I'll just throw this calculator in as a simple example for this one. All right, good. So we're ready to move on. So we've got question 1. Now you may say, well, Eric, what about hyperlinks? Don't we need to put hyperlinks in? Well, yeah, but the thing is, you got to have something to link to. So we have to create the slides we're going to first, and then we can put in the links to jump to those. So we'll come back to this slide later to add the hyperlinks in. So let's go ahead and create another slide. Let's create a slide if a student answered correctly. So for that, I'll go back up to the little down arrow next to the plus sign, click that, and I'll choose another title and body slide. And boom, there it is. Now remember, naming things, this is really important as to how we name things. So the scheme that I like to use is I'm going to call this one question 1 dash, well, normally I'd say like dash answer A, answer B, answer C, answer D. I'm going to save a little bit of time this time. You know what, let's just do this. I'm just going to do correct or incorrect, because rather than having a dedicated slide for A, B, C, and D, I'll just do one slide for correct and one slide for incorrect. So I'll call this question 1 correct. And so by naming it question 1 correct, now I know when I go to link to it, this is the slide that says, yay, you got it right. So, I'll throw in some text here, say something like, yes, that is correct. Oops, if I could spell, that would be bad. That is correct. 3 times 3 is 9. So 3 is the square root of 9. Excellent. And then I'll say something like, click here. Oops, click here to move to the next question. And again, we're not going to really link this in just yet, but we're putting the text in there so that it's there. All right, so there's our correct slide. Now we need an incorrect slide. So we'll go up here next to the little plus sign, click the down arrow, choose to create a title and body slide, and we'll name that question 1 incorrect. And of course, we'll, give them some kind of feedback, something like, sorry, but that is not correct. Now, remember, I could do a specific not correct slide for every answer and give them specialized feedback. That's a lot more time, which is great. But just for our example today, I'm going to keep it real simple so we can just handle the mechanics of how this works. All right, then I'll say something like, click here to go back and try again. All right. So far, so good. So we have title slide, question 1 correct, question 1 incorrect. All right, looks good. So we are now ready to go ahead and start adding in our links. So at this point, we're going to explain how hyperlinking works in Google Slides. Real easy. Basically, what you do is you come in, take your mouse, click on the thing you want to make a hyperlink out of. So in this case, I want to select A18. So that's answer A, the number 18. I want to take my mouse, click and drag over that to select or highlight that part of text, because that needs to be a link. When somebody clicks on that, it's going to shoot them out to a certain slide. Now, how do I put the hyperlink in? Well, after highlighting what I want to hyperlink, I need to look up in the top menu bar. Now, there's a button up here that looks like a link, and here it is. I know it's really easy to see on the video or not, but it's right past where you've got bold, italics, and underline. Now, keep in mind, sometimes things don't all fit up here on this toolbar. So if you can't find the link button, you might have to click your more button to see some additional items. Yours might be hiding underneath more if it doesn't fit. Now that's one way to get to it. The other option is to go up to the insert menu and click that. And from the drop down there, you'll see link. And it looks like Control K also works. That's good to know. So any of those options are fine. So once you do that, what happens is it'll pop up this little menu here saying, okay, we're going to take this text and we're going to link it to what? Now, normally when people put hyperlinks in, they're linking to a website. They're going to, www.google.com, whatever the case is. And you can do that. You certainly can. That's kind of the normal approach. But look what else we can do. Do you notice instead of typing in a link, look right below there and see what it says. Slides in this presentation. So you can also link not just to a website, but to a specific slide. So if I click on the little down arrow next to that, it'll show me what I'm allowed to link to. And there's all of my slides. Now, the first couple of them are more general options. Next slide, previous slide, first slide, last slide. So that's to go back or forth one slide, or to go to the very first slide in the whole presentation or the very last slide. I don't use these very often. I do use the first slide sometimes, like at the end of the Choose Your Own Adventure story when you die. Hit the link for the first slide and go all the way back to the beginning. Or for Jeopardy, if you want to go all the way back to the big board, if that was the first slide, that would be fine. But look below there and you'll start seeing that they actually name out the specific slides. And see, here's where titling really comes in handy. So I can say, okay, 18 is the wrong answer. That is not the square root of 9. So by looking at the titles, question 1, incorrect, that's the slide I want it to go to. So I click on that, hit apply, and boom, there we go. That has now become a hyperlink that goes to that slide. Same thing for the other ones that are incorrect. So for 4.5, I'd highlight that, hit my insert link button, go down to slides in this presentation. I might have to scroll down a bit to see all this. Question 1 incorrect, apply that. The same one for D, that's also going to be incorrect. So insert a link, go to slides in this presentation, scroll down until I find incorrect, apply that. And then for 3, letter B, that one's actually correct. So that one goes somewhere else. So we go to insert link, go to slides in this presentation, scroll down, and we go to question 1 correct. And we apply that. And there we go. We have now linked each of those to these different slides. So if I go over to the next slide, which is the correct slide, Eventually, I need to make this a link. I can't quite yet, where it says here, move to the next question, because I don't have the next question yet. We'll come back to that. That's okay. But on this one where it says incorrect, I could put in a link here, which I do need to do. If somebody gets to the incorrect one, I want the text here where it says click here to go back and try again. I want that to link back to question 1. So I can highlight that, go to the link button, go to slides in this presentation, and I want to go back to question 1 and hit apply. And there we go. So far, so good. So we've got a question with 4 answers that hyperlink out to the correct and the incorrect slides to let them know how they did. Now, I'm going to run through this real quick and test it out. And I'll let you know there's something wrong. There's something we still need to do. We may think, we got it, good, everything's perfect. Actually, there's an issue we need to address. And maybe you already know what it is. If so, that's great. But I'll show you what it is here in just a second. So let me go ahead and say I want to present this. So I'm going to go ahead and let me hit my present button. Whoop, I lost my screen. Oh, hold on a second. I have to allow it to go full screen here. Sorry, guys. I lost my screen there. Let me share that again. It popped right on out of there. So let me get that shared again. There we go. Excellent. And I'll try that one more time. So hit my present button. I didn't lose it that time. Good deal. Excellent. So now we see it. So here is question number 1. And it says, what is the square root of 9? And here's our possible answers. Now it's working. I mean, this is actually functioning properly. So if I say, I think it's 18, it'll say, nope, sorry, that's wrong. Go back and try again. If I hit 4.5, nope, that's wrong. Try again. If I hit 81, nope, that's wrong. Try again. And if I hit 3, yes, that's right. Move on to the next question. Well, I can't move on because I didn't do anything after that. But let me go ahead and we will, I'll exit out of that. All right, there we go. Now you may say, well, Eric, that looked good. I don't see a problem with it. What were you concerned about as far as the problem? Well, let me explain. The way slideshows work is anytime you click, it moves forward to the next slide. Well, the problem is there's a lot of other things I could have clicked on besides those links there. And guess what would happen? Yep. It would have moved on to the next slide. So let me show you. I'll actually break this and show you. So if I go ahead and hit present again, make sure I don't lose it. Oh, good. I didn't lose it again. There we go. And if I decide not to click on these links, but instead I just click somewhere else on the slide, what's it going to do? Yeah, it's going to move to the next slide. And if I click again somewhere else, what's it going to do? Yeah, it's going to move to the next slide. And again, well, that's the end of the slideshow, so that's it. Oh, no. See, that's a problem. If somebody clicks somewhere where we don't want them to click, it's going to move them ahead. Now, this is what I call unintended advancement. You don't want it to advance without them intentionally clicking on a link. So how do we fix this? Well, this is my second request to Google. I would love if there was just a button in here we could say, do not advance on mouse click, and then you had to do the links. There isn't such an option. We'll hope that they add it there eventually. But anyway, I can show you, though, a workaround. It's takes a little bit of clicking to make it happen. And again, this may be one of those spots in the webinar where you say, wow, Eric, that's a lot of work. But hang tight, because once you do it once, it becomes so much easier. You can pretty much just duplicate your efforts without really redoing it. You can copy what you've done in the past and save you some time. So what is the solution? Well, this is the solution. Basically, we need to take everything else on the screen and turn all these other things into hyperlinks as well. Hyperlinks that go where? Right back to the same slide they're on. Aha, we're going to trick it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, what if somebody clicks on this this calculator here, this picture of a calculator? Well, let's make that a link. So click on the calculator, go up to the hyperlink button and say link to slides in this presentation and say, well, what slides? And say this slide, which is slide 2, question 1. So I'm going to say I want to link the calculator back to the question 1 slide. Aha, so now if somebody clicks the calculator, what does it do? It takes them right back to the same slide we're on. What else do we need to do this to? Well, the title. Now, I don't mean come up and highlight the text of the title. What I mean is click on the box around the title. So if you've got a blinking cursor, actually click right on the edge of the box of the title so you grab the entire title. That's easy to say. And then go ahead and click on the hyperlink button and say link to slides in this presentation and tell it to go right to, you got it, question 1. Do the same thing for the body of the text here. Click on the text box that goes around all this text, go up to the hyperlink button, click that, again say go to slides in this presentation, and again go down to, let me see if I can get all the way down to it, question 1, and apply that. Now that's pretty darn good. That's helped us a lot. Let me rerun this presentation and you'll see that we're in a lot better shape than we were. So if I go to present this now, if somebody says, oh, I'm going to click on the calculator, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. And oh, I'm going to click on question 1 at the top. Doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to click on the question. Doesn't go anywhere. It's actually going somewhere. It's just looping back around. It's going right back around to the slide we're on. And these are still all valid links down here. So these all still work fine. I can pick like a wrong answer and go back and try again. Unfortunately, guys, I've missed one more thing. And if you're playing along at home, you may be screaming this out saying, well, Eric, what about the stuff that you haven't clicked on yet, the background? Yeah, unfortunately, there is still part of the slide that's sort of outside of the text box. It's outside of the title. It's not part of the picture. So yeah, we've got a problem. If I go like to the very top corner and give a click, guess what? Yep, it's going to keep moving on. Okay, so how do you fix that? Well, this is where we now get really tricky here. And again, hang tight. This is the deep end of the pool. The water does not get any deeper than this, I promise. This is as far as it goes here. This is the deep end of the pool. So here's what I do. And again, I promise once I show you the templates and how you can duplicate things, this gets a lot easier. But it's important to see how it is set up to begin with. What I do is I put a fake background behind all this that also links back to the slide. Well, how do you do that? Well, that involves inserting a shape. So if you go to Insert Shape, or if you just go to the Shape toolbar, the Shape button in the toolbar, that's fine too. And if you go down to Shapes, I'll pick a rectangle. So I go with a regular old rectangle here, give a click on Rectangle. And what that does is it lets me click and drag out a rectangle that covers my entire slide. Boom, there it is. Now it's not going to cover, I'm going to put it in the back here in just a second, but I need to make it big enough to cover the whole slide. Now, while I'm at it, we might as well think about the color. Maybe I want to make my background something other than white. So for correct answers, make it green. For incorrect answers, make it red. For the question, make it yellow, for example. So I can do that. I can use the paint can up here to say, let's fill this with yellow, and we'll make the outline yellow. Excellent. And now what I need to do is I need to take this entire square here, this rectangle, excuse me, and I need to link that back to the slide. So with it selected, I'll click the hyperlink button, and I'll say link to slides in this presentation. And I will again scroll down and say, where's it at? Here it is. Slide 2, it's question 1. I need it to link back to question 1. Hit apply, and excellent. Now, if anybody clicks on this giant rectangle, it'll take them right back to the same slide. Now, unfortunately, the rectangle's in the way, so I need to push it back. If you're not used to doing that, just give a right click on it, and you can choose Order, and you can choose Send to Back, and that will send it all the way behind everything. Perfect. Now, I would replicate this same thing for all the rest of them. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through and do that for all the rest of these slides, but I would do the same thing here. I would hyperlink question 1, correct, and the text here back to this slide, and I would link question 1, incorrect, and the text box below there back to that slide. And yes, I would add a big rectangle here, color it green, add a big rectangle over this one here, color it red, and have that link back to that slide as well. And so what that ends up doing is it basically makes it impossible from somebody to click on the slide and move ahead. So if I present this one more time, you'll see that now if I click on the calculator, or I click on what is the square root of 9, or if I click on the click on the question, or if I just click somewhere on the background, doesn't make any difference. They have to click actually on the answers here to be able to move forward. All right. So that's the idea of avoiding the unintended advancement. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, wow, Eric, that was a little bit of work to put all that together. Well, here's where it gets a lot easier. Let's say you've done that and you've, created all of those. And actually, I think I've got one I made earlier that I can show you. I'll just grab this one from earlier and drag it over onto the screen here. Make sure that pops up. That way you guys can see a more finished version of it. Okay, so here's one where I've got question 1, correct and incorrect, question 2, correct and incorrect. Now, here's the idea, guys. When I did this earlier, I didn't do question 1, correct and incorrect, and then start all over again and do question 2, correct and incorrect. You can use an option in Google Slides to duplicate slides, and it will bring all of that crazy linking with it. You don't have to recreate it over and over and over and over again. So if I say, you know what, I've got a really nice question slide, a nice correct answer slide, and a nice incorrect answer slide, and I've done everything I needed to do. It's all happily hyperlinked back to itself and so forth. All I have to do is duplicate these slides and make small changes, and I can just easily flesh out my quiz. So how do you duplicate a slide in Google Slides? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it. Probably one of the easiest is just right-clicking on it and choosing Duplicate Slide. And when I do that, what it does is it makes a copy of that slide, which I can then click, hold down, and drag down the left to put it where I need it to be. So I've got question 2 here, and now I've duplicated it as question 2 here. So what do? You just go in and change it. So you just call it question 3. And you come in and you say, what's the square root of, 25? And you change, all your different answers. So you throw 5 in for this one, and you throw in maybe 50 for this one, and you throw in something. We'll just put in some random numbers here. Whoops, lost my spot there. Sorry about that. There we go. Maybe I'll throw in just something else simple here. Here we go. And here's the nice thing, guys. Everything is still hyperlinked. So if I click on the calculator, it's still hyperlinked. If I click on the question title, it's still hyperlinked. And if I click on the text, it's still hyperlinked. I may say, well, Eric, what's it hyperlinked to? Is it hyperlinked back to the original slide? No, Google Slides is really smart. It realizes that when you make a copy of a slide, anything that linked back to the original slide now links to the new one. So you don't have to go back through and fix the background and fix the picture and fix the title and fix the text. All you have to do is maybe change these links here. So if the answers are going to different correct and incorrect slides, you just need to fix those. So maybe, now, A is the correct one. Well, actually, I should have picked a different one here. I'll make this one correct here instead. So let's say B is the correct answer, but it's going to the incorrect slide. Yeah, I will have to fix those links, but it's not that hard. All I do is click change. I remove the old one, and I pick the correct new one. So I go, okay, slides in this presentation, and I come down and I find, well, that's supposed to be correct. And well, I guess I can't yet because I forgot I have not duplicated those yet. So yes, I would have to duplicate the correct and the incorrect slides as well and drag those down. But you get the idea. The point is, once you've set it up once, it's not really that hard to just quickly right-click, duplicate slide, drag it down, and right-click, duplicate slide, and drag it down, rename them, make that question 3 correct, rename this one, make this question 3 correct or incorrect, and you get the idea. And now I could fix my links to point to the right things, and away I go. All right, well, we're getting close to the end, and I promised I would talk about using templates, so I will do that. The last thing, though, before I talk about that is, now that we're done, and we'll pretend that this is, this quiz is all done, I want to talk about sharing this or making this available for people to use. So let's say a student builds a quiz, and it's great, and they love it. It's a fantastic quiz. They put it together. How do the other students actually get to take the quiz? How do they use it? Or they did a choose your own adventure story and they're so excited. They want people to play through their choose your own adventure story, or you made a Jeopardy game. Well, here's the idea. A lot of times we think, Well, don't you just click the big blue share button and click that and share that out with people? Actually, no. Google Slides are a little bit different. If I click the share button up here, it's really more to have people work on the slideshow with me. Or yes, I can give them view rights, but the problem is it's going to open up in this mode where they can view it and they can see all the slides. So they could just scroll down and see in the side here what all the correct and incorrect things are. There is a different way to let people access your slideshow that does not let them see all of the individual slides broken out. And that's called publishing to the web. And the way that works is in the top left-hand corner, if you click on File and you go down almost to the bottom, you will see a link that says Publish to the Web. That's what you want to do. So when you click on File and then Publish to the Web, it pops up this option, and I'll unpublish it and then I'll republish it because this one I already had published earlier. So I'll unpublish and then I'll republish, so you can see that in action. File, Publish to the Web. What it does is it pops up and says, do you want to make this published on the web? And basically at the bottom there's a big blue button that says Publish. You give it a click and it says, are you sure? And you go, yes, I am. And what it does is it gives you a link. That's the link you want to give to people. And watch what happens. If I copy this link and I open up a new tab, and if I go ahead and put this in a new tab here, and it opens up the slideshow, look what it did. It opens up the slideshow in presentation mode. Publish to the web doesn't bring up all the little slides on the side. It goes straight into presentation mode. So now they can go ahead and take the quiz and they're ready to go and move on through the quiz or the choose your own adventure story or the Jeopardy game. All right, so I did need to mention that real quick before we jump back over to the topic of templates. But the idea is don't use the share button if you want people to play your game or read your story or take your quiz. Use Publish to the Web instead. All right, guys. Now, with all that said, I promised that I would talk about templates. So let me pop back over to our website for this session. And if you go back down below our video and you go back down to our session resources, you will see that I have 3 links in there that are actually templates. So yes, you can do this from scratch. You can do exactly what I just did. You can do the whole thing from just a blank presentation. But if you'd like to save a little time, feel free to use some of these templates. So what you'll see under session resources is there is the 4th one down, a template for the interactive quiz. If you give a click on that, what you'll see is I've put together a very simple template. It's got a title slide, then it's got the question 1 slide, it's got the wrong answer slide, and it's got the correct answer slide. So you could come here and you could choose use this template up here in the top left, and that would make a copy of this for you, and you can just hit the ground running with it. Your students don't have to create everything from scratch. It's all hyperlinked. Everything's already ready to go to link back to itself and to link on to the next questions and all that. So you can absolutely just use this to get going. Then, if you look further down under session resources, I have 2 Jeopardy templates, a 5-topic template and a 6-topic template. So if I click on Jeopardy game 5-topic template, it'll open up a view-only version of this template. So you will have to make a copy of this, okay? You'll need to make your own copy. So now I own it, so it's not view-only for me. But when you come here, this will open up as a view-only template. So you would need to click File, and you would need to click Make a Copy, and then you can have your very own copy of this template. And basically what you'll notice is on the 2nd slide, it explains what to do. Make a copy, and then it explains how basically the whole game is created. You just need to go in and change the words. That's pretty much it. Come here to the Jeopardy board, and you can type in whatever you want for these topics. So you just type in the names of your topics, and then you just go down to each of the questions. Type in the question here for the topic 1 $100 question, type it in, and then go to the next slide, type the answer in. So just click in there and replace the text I have with the text that you want to put in, and it's ready to go. All of these are already hyperlinked out to the right slides where it says click to see the answer and return to the big board. all of that is already linked in. So you can just go through and fill in those and have your own ready to go Jeopardy game. So you wouldn't have to create it all from scratch. So that was sort of the idea behind that. All right. Well, we are really getting close to the end here. So I'm going to do a quick look and see if we have any questions in the Q&A doc. And one of them is, when you publish to the web, does the viewer need to have a Google Docs account? And that's a great question. Actually, not at all. Anybody is able to click that link and then go through the quiz, to go through the Jeopardy game, to go through the choose your own adventure story. All of that is available to anybody, just as a regular web page would be. So no, it does not require it. Obviously, you need a Google Docs account to create these things, but no, once it's published to the web, anybody with that link can click on it and jump right into viewing that in presentation mode. All right, well, guys, let's go ahead and just wrap up a couple things here as we finish up today. So as a quick reminder to you, the resources for this session can be found at tiny.cc/spark207. And as we mentioned before, there you will find the recorded video of this. It won't be live anymore. It'll now be recorded. You can find all the help guides for the session. You can find the session evaluation, which again, I definitely encourage you, please take a moment. It's very short, like 4 or 5 questions. Fill that out. Let us know what you thought. And then below there, there is the link to the quiz. Take the quiz and you'll get a 1-hour certificate of attendance if you pass the quiz. In addition to that, don't forget, we've got the link to our PD schedule for upcoming webinars. We've got the link to recorded trainings for ones we've done in the past. There is a newsletter link to sign up for our Sparklines newsletter and always stay up to date with the latest information. And of course, the contact link where you can access email, Twitter, Google+, etc. for myself, Eric Kurtz, and for Anthony as well. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this session. We hope to see you again over the coming weeks for more educational technology webinars. If you or your students create anything as a result of this, I would love to see your stories, your quizzes, your games. Please send me a link with those, and I will be glad to include those as resource links for other people to try out and see. Again, thanks so much, and take care.